The massive view screen in Earth's Defense Command showed only static where the colony of New Hope should have been. Admiral James Walker gripped the edge of his command console, his knuckles turning white. 10,000 colonists, gone in an instant. The Empire had struck again, and this time they hadn't even bothered with demands or warnings. The command center fell silent as Walker straightened his uniform and turned to face his crew. Their faces reflected the same mix of anger and grief he felt inside. This was the third colony lost in as many months. The Empire's message was clear: surrender or die. "Sir," his communications officer spoke up, breaking the heavy silence. "We're receiving a transmission from the Imperial flagship. They're requesting permission to enter Earth's orbit for diplomatic talks." Walker's jaw tightened. Diplomatic talks. That's what they had called it before they destroyed the Mars outpost last year. Grant them permission. Inform the Council they're coming. And tell them. He paused, looking at the static-filled screen once more. Tell them this is the last time. The Imperial ship that entered Earth's orbit 3 hours later was massive, its golden hull reflecting sunlight like a small sun. Inside the council chambers, Walker stood with the other military leaders as the Imperial ambassador walked in, flanked by guards in gleaming armor. The ambassador's smile never reached his eyes. Earth's continued resistance is admirable, but futile. The Empire spans 10,000 systems. Your people occupy barely 20 worlds, now 17. He placed a small holographic projector on the table. We are not unreasonable. Accept Imperial rule, and your people will be protected. Continue this pointless defiance, and well, the hologram showed New Hope's destruction in vivid detail. Walker watched the council members' reactions. Some showed fear, others anger, but in the eyes of Defense Minister Reed, he saw something else. Determination. They had been preparing for this moment for 15 years. The Empire's terms are generous. The ambassador continued. Considering your species' primitive nature, you'll be given Class 3 citizenship with rights to maintain your cultural identity under Imperial guidance. Your military will be integrated into our forces. Your resources will be managed by Imperial administrators. This is our final offer. The council chamber erupted in heated discussions. Walker moved closer to Minister Reed, speaking in a low voice. Is it ready? Reed nodded slightly. Project Phoenix is operational. All sites are green. Walker allowed himself a small smile. The Empire had no idea what humanity had hidden in the asteroid belt, in deep space stations, and beneath the surface of dead moons. They saw Earth as a primitive world, barely able to manage interstellar travel. They never questioned why humanity had seemed to advance so slowly compared to other species. They never wondered where Earth's resources were really going. The ambassador cleared his throat, demanding attention. The Empire requires your answer now. The deaths at New Hope were regrettable, but necessary to show you the futility of resistance. Choose wisely. Council President Thomas stood slowly, his aged face showing the weight of his next words. Ambassador, we have a response for your empire. He nodded to Walker. Admiral, you have permission to proceed with Protocol Omega. Walker stepped forward, facing the ambassador directly. You came here expecting our surrender. Instead, I will give you a warning. Leave human space. Never return. What happened to New Hope was indeed regrettable, but not for the reasons you think. It was regrettable because it forced our hand. The ambassador's smile faltered slightly. Are you threatening the Empire? With what? Your outdated ships. Your primitive weapons. Walker activated his own holographic display, showing a star system the Empire knew well. We've learned much from watching you, studying you. While you saw weakness, we were building. While you saw primitives, we were planning. Your empire taught us one vital lesson. Peace is guaranteed only through superior firepower. The display showed something impossible, a star beginning to destabilize. The ambassador's face paled as he recognized the system. That's That's the Centauri Imperial shipyards. Was, Walker corrected. By now, the system's star has begun its death sequence. You showed us how to destroy a colony. Now we'll show you how to destroy worlds. The Empire has one chance. Withdraw from human space immediately. If you don't, he let the threat hang in the air. As alarms began blaring on the ambassador's personal communicator, Walker saw real fear in the alien's eyes for the first time. Humanity's greatest deception was letting the Empire think they were primitive. Now they would learn just how advanced, and just how dangerous, humans could be. Deep within the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, Dr. Elizabeth Reed walked through a hidden facility that few humans knew existed. The massive underground complex, carved into the heart of Ceres, had been her home for the past decade. Heavy blast doors opened before her as she made her way to the central control room, her footsteps echoing in the steel corridors. The room buzzed with activity as technicians monitored screens showing data from across the solar system. On the main display, a simulation played on repeat, a star collapsing in on itself, its death throes sending waves of destruction across an entire system. "Report," she called out to her team. The head technician looked up from his station. "The test was successful, Doctor. The Proxima site is ready. We can trigger a stellar collapse in under 6 hours now." Reed nodded, remembering the day 15 years ago when the Empire first arrived. They had expected humanity to bow down, to accept their rule like so many other species before them. Instead, they had given humanity the motivation to create something terrible. A message flashed on her screen. Admiral Walker was calling. She accepted the transmission, and his hologram appeared before her. "Dr. Reed, the warning has been delivered. How many systems can we target simultaneously?" 7, she replied, pulling up a star map. "We've placed destabilization devices around 7 major Imperial stars. Each one can be triggered remotely." She paused, considering her next words carefully. "James, once we start this, there's no going back. The technology will change everything." Walker's hologram nodded grimly. "They gave us no choice. Show me how it works." Reed gestured, and the star map expanded to show detailed schematics. Project Phoenix works by injecting specialized particles into a star's core. These particles disrupt the fusion process, causing a chain reaction. The star literally tears itself apart from the inside. She brought up footage from their first test on a distant red dwarf. "We learned this from studying Imperial tech, but took it further than they ever imagined possible." The facility shook slightly as mining equipment in the upper levels continued their work, a cover story that had fooled Imperial observers for years. They thought humans were merely extracting minerals. They never guessed that deep below, humanity was building weapons that could kill stars. "The Empire's ships just jumped out of the system," Walker reported. "They're running back to their masters. How long until they realize what we've done to the Centauri shipyards?" Reed checked her calculations. The process has already begun. In about 20 hours, that star will go critical. Nothing can stop it now. She walked to a sealed chamber where a small device floated in a containment field. No bigger than a briefcase, it had the power to end billions of lives. "We built these things to ensure our survival, but sometimes I wonder if we've gone too far." Walker's hologram flickered. "They killed millions of us, Elizabeth. They destroyed our colonies, our homes. They thought we were weak because we didn't have their technology. But we had something better, human ingenuity and 15 years of quiet preparation." Alarms suddenly blared through the facility. Reed rushed to her console as data streamed in. "James, we're detecting multiple Imperial ships entering the outer system. Big ones. They're not running away. They're gathering for an attack." "Good," Walker said, surprising her. "Let them come. Every ship they send here is one less defending their core worlds. Begin powering up the other devices. If they want to see what humanity is capable of, we'll give them a demonstration they'll never forget." Reed looked at her team, seeing determination in their eyes. They had spent years building humanity's last resort, hoping they would never need to use it. Now that day had come. She entered her authorization code, and across the solar system, hidden facilities hummed to life. "Remember what they did to New Hope," Walker said softly. "Remember Mars. Remember every human colony they destroyed because they thought we were beneath them. Now they'll learn why you should never corner a species that once split the atom just to prove they could." Reed activated the countdown sequence. In 6 hours, more stars would begin to die. The Empire had started this war, but humanity would end it. The cosmos itself would be their weapon. The Empire's communications network lit up like a Christmas tree as humanity's message played on every frequency, in every system. Admiral Walker stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense Force flagship Guardian, watching as his words echoed across the galaxy. "To the Empire and all its worlds, this is Earth. You thought us weak. You thought us primitive. You were wrong. The Centauri Imperial shipyards are just the beginning. Watch now as we demonstrate our power in the uninhabited system designation Delta 7. On countless Imperial worlds, billions of alien eyes turned their view screens. The Imperial High Command sat in stunned silence as the feed showed a small human ship approaching the yellow star, much like Earth's sun. Many laughed at first. What could one tiny ship do to a star? The laughter died as sensors detected an energy spike. The star's surface began to ripple like water in a pond. Within minutes, its color shifted from yellow to angry red. The Imperial scientists watched in horror as their instruments showed the impossible. The star's core was becoming unstable. In the Guardian's command center, Walker received the first responses from the Empire. Most were dismissive, calling it a trick or an illusion. A few were threats, but some, the smarter ones, were beginning to show fear. "Sir," his tactical officer called out, "Imperial fleet movements detected. They're pulling ships back from their outer systems." A small smile crossed Walker's face. They were starting to believe. The demonstration star was dying faster now. Its surface bulged and twisted, massive solar flares reaching out like grasping fingers. The human ship had long since retreated to a safe distance, but kept broadcasting. Every Empire citizen would witness what happened next. In his private quarters, Walker opened a channel to the Cirrus facility. Dr. Reed's hologram appeared, looking tired but determined. "Elizabeth, they're still not taking us seriously enough. Initiate Phase 2. Reed nodded grimly. "Sending the activation codes now. Remember, once we do this, 3 more stars will begin the collapse sequence. There's no stopping it." "They left us no choice," Walker replied, remembering the burning ruins of Mars. "Send it." Across 3 different Imperial systems, hidden devices awakened. These weren't empty systems like Delta 7. These were populated worlds, though carefully chosen ones. Military bases, shipyards, and weapon facilities. No civilian targets. Not yet. Humanity would show more mercy than the Empire ever had. The Imperial response changed quickly as reports came in from these systems. The dismissive messages stopped. The threats became desperate pleas. Walker ordered all frequencies opened and spoke again to the galaxy. "Your weapons are strong. Your ships are vast. But we can destroy the very stars that give your worlds life. For 15 years, we let you think we were barely holding on. We let you think your attacks were pushing us to the brink. The truth is, we were learning, adapting, preparing." He paused, letting his words sink in. "You destroyed our colonies because you could. You killed our people because you thought us powerless to stop you. Now we show you the price of that arrogance. The devices we've planted in your stars can't be removed. They can't be stopped. But they can be deactivated, if you meet our terms." The first Imperial warships were arriving at the demonstration system now, just in time to witness the final death throes of the star. It exploded in a burst of light so bright that even sensors light years away detected it. Where a living star had burned for billions of years, Only a rapidly expanding cloud of plasma remained. Walker's message continued, his voice hard as steel. You have 6 hours to begin withdrawing from all human space. You have 12 hours to release all human prisoners. You have 24 hours to agree to our full terms, or we will trigger more devices. The next stars won't be empty systems or military targets. In the following silence, Walker watched his sensor displays. Imperial ships were moving, but not to attack. They were running. For the first time in its history, the mighty Empire was afraid. On his private channel, Dr. Reed spoke softly. Do you think they'll agree? Walker watched another Imperial battle group jump to hyperspace, fleeing the demonstration system. They'll agree. They have to. Because now they know we can do something they never could. We can make the stars themselves go dark. The next move would reveal whether the Empire had truly learned its lesson, or if more stars would need to die before they understood that humanity was done being pushed around. The Imperial Industrial Hub of Nexus Prime was the pride of the Empire's manufacturing might. Massive orbital factories circled the system's blue star like a swarm of metal insects, churning out warships and weapons. Millions of workers kept the machines running day and night, feeding the Empire's endless hunger for more ships, more guns, more power. None of them noticed the small device that had been hiding in their star's corona for 5 years, waiting for a signal from Earth. Admiral Walker watched the live feed from a cloaked probe as the device activated. The star's brightness began to change, subtle at first, then more dramatic. His tactical display showed thousands of Imperial ships still in orbit around the factories, their crews unaware of what was about to happen. Send the evacuation warning, he ordered. Give them a chance to run. Some of his officers looked surprised. The Empire had never warned before destroying human colonies. But Walker knew that showing mercy, even now, was what separated humanity from their enemies. The warning went out on all frequencies. Attention, Nexus Prime. Your star has been compromised. You have 4 hours to evacuate the system. This is not a drill. This is not a negotiation. Your star is dying. Run. For 30 minutes, nothing happened. Then, as the star's color shifted from blue to a sickly purple, the first ships began to break orbit. Within an hour, it was a flood. Imperial ships of all sizes abandoned their stations, leaving half-finished vessels and valuable cargo behind. The Empire's mighty industrial heart was experiencing something new: panic. In the Ceres facility, Dr. Reed monitored the star's death sequence. The reaction is proceeding faster than our models predicted, she reported to Walker. The Imperial ships have 3 hours at most, not 4. Walker nodded grimly. Send an update. Tell them to move faster. He watched as more ships fled, their engines burning hot enough to show up on thermal sensors. A massive space station, home to over 100,000 workers, began to break apart as its crew tried to move it away from the dying star. Multiple Imperial distress calls detected, his communications officer reported. They're begging for help evacuating the orbital habitats. Some of their larger facilities don't have enough transport capacity. Walker thought of Mars, of New Hope, of all the human colonies that had begged for mercy and received none. But he wasn't like them. Direct our stealth ships to assist with evacuation where they can. Saving lives is more important than keeping our ships hidden now. The star's death throes intensified. Solar flares larger than planets whipped through space, forcing evacuating ships to plot careful courses through the chaos. The orbital factories closest to the star began to melt, their metal shells unable to withstand the increasing heat. On his tactical display, Walker tracked the evacuation progress. 70% of the system's population had escaped. 80%. 90%. But time was running out. Final warning, he ordered. Tell them they have 30 minutes. After that, the radiation will make hyperspace travel impossible. The last ships fled in a desperate rush, leaving behind billions in equipment and resources. As the final vessels jumped to safety, sensors showed the star entering its terminal phase. The surface broke apart, revealing the churning hell beneath. In a final, spectacular burst, the star that had burned for billions of years died, taking with it the Empire's greatest industrial center. In the aftermath, Walker received a priority transmission from Earth. The Council was meeting to discuss the Empire's response. Early reports showed mass panic on Imperial worlds as news of Nexus Prime's destruction spread. The mighty Empire, which had never known defeat, had just lost one of its most valuable systems to a species they had dismissed as primitive. "Dr. Reed," Walker called over the secure channel. "How many more stars are we prepared to target?" "6 more systems are primed," she replied. "But sir, the Empire's response fleet is larger than we anticipated. Over 3,000 ships are heading toward Earth. They'll be here in less than 2 days." Walker smiled slightly. Let them come. They still didn't understand. Humanity hadn't survived this long by being weak. They had survived by being clever, by being innovative, and by being willing to do whatever it took to protect their freedom. "Begin preparations for Phase 3, he ordered. "If they want to see more stars die, we'll give them a show they'll never forget." As reports of chaos in the Empire continued to flood in, Walker knew the real war was just beginning. The Empire had ruled through fear for 10,000 years. Now they were learning what it meant to be afraid. Red warning lights flashed across Earth's orbital defense platforms as 3,000 Imperial warships tore holes in space itself, emerging from hyperspace in attack formation. Their massive ships blotted out the stars, stretching from the Moon's orbit to Mars, the largest fleet ever assembled in human space. In Earth Defense Command, Admiral Walker stood calmly as his officers reported the enemy's positions. Imperial ships launching fighters, energy readings showing weapon systems powering up. "They're preparing to attack. Let them come," Walker said quietly. "Activate Defense Grid Alpha." Hidden platforms across the solar system powered up. Weapons that humanity had spent 15 years developing in secret revealed themselves. The Empire had always wondered why humans never seemed to build large fleets. Now they would learn where all those resources had really gone. On the Imperial flagship, High Commander Marcus watched his tactical display with growing unease. Something was wrong. Earth's defenses were too subtle, too simple. After 15 years of war, they should have seen massive orbital rings, huge battle stations. Instead, they saw only a scattered network of small platforms. "Begin the attack," he ordered. "Show these primitives the price of defying the Empire." The first wave of Imperial ships surged forward. Their energy weapons lit up space like new stars being born. But as their attacks approached Earth's defense grid, something impossible happened. The beams bent away, missing their targets entirely. In her underground lab on Ceres, Dr. Reed watched the battle through quantum-linked sensors. "Gravity manipulation grid is holding," she reported to Walker. "Their weapons are being deflected just as we planned. Should we show them what else we've been working on?" Walker nodded. "Activate the dimensional shields. Let's see how their mighty fleet handles being cut off from hyperspace." Across the solar system, hidden emitters powered up. The Empire had mastered faster than light travel, but humans had studied their technology and gone further. Now, a field of warped space surrounded the Imperial fleet, trapping them in normal space. High Commander Marcus felt the change immediately. His ship's hyperspace drives reported errors. Escape routes were cut off. For the first time in his long career, he felt a chill of real fear. "Impossible," he muttered. "These primitives couldn't have mastered dimensional technology. We've been watching them for years." A message flashed across every Imperial screen, broadcast from Earth. Walker's voice was calm but firm. "You've spent 15 years underestimating us, watching us, judging us, but you never ask yourselves why we let you wash, why we let you think you knew our capabilities." The defense platforms began to move, linking together in patterns the Empire had never seen before. Energy readings spiked across human space as more hidden weapons revealed themselves. "Your empire spans 10,000 years," Walker continued. "In that time, How many species have you conquered? How many civilizations have you crushed? You thought age brought wisdom. Instead, it brought arrogance. The first Imperial ships began to explode as weapons they'd never seen before cut through their strongest shields. Quantum torpedoes phased through solid matter to detonate inside vital systems. Gravity beams twisted metal like paper. In desperation, Marcus ordered his fleet to concentrate fire on Earth itself. If we die here, we'll take their homeworld with us. But the massive barrage of energy weapons never reached its target. Instead, the attacks bent back on themselves, reflected by fields of warped space. Imperial ships died by their own weapons, their mighty fleet trapped in a web of human technology they'd never thought possible. Send the surrender signal, Marcus ordered, his pride finally breaking. But before his communications officer could act, sensors detected a new threat. The sun itself was changing color. You still don't understand. Walker's voice came again. We didn't build these defenses to fight your fleet. We built them to hold you here while we demonstrate the true price of threatening humanity. Look to your homeworld, Commander. In 30 minutes, its star begins to die. The Imperial fleet, trapped and powerless, could only watch as humanity revealed its final card. They had not been fighting to defend Earth. They had been stalling, keeping the Empire's main fleet occupied while their real weapons activated across the galaxy. As his mighty fleet burned, High Commander Marcus finally understood. The Empire had not been hunting primitive prey. They had been poking the sleeping giant. And now, that giant was fully awake. The Imperial Palace on their homeworld was in chaos. Emergency alarms blared as reports came in from across the galaxy. 6 Imperial stars were showing signs of instability. The Empire's mighty fleet was trapped in Earth's solar system, unable to respond. And now their own sun was beginning to change color. Inside the Grand Council chamber, the Empire's rulers faced a choice none of them had ever imagined possible. The Supreme Leader, an ancient being who had ruled for over 3 centuries, watched in silence as his advisors argued. "We cannot surrender to primitives," shouted the War Minister, slamming his fist on the ornate table. "We have ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years, and we will rule nothing if our stars die," countered another council member, her voice shaking. "Look at the readings from Nexus Prime. Nothing remains. Nothing." On the main display, live feeds showed panic spreading across Imperial worlds. The simple knowledge that their stars could be killed had broken something in the Empire's people. They had never known fear like this before. A transmission cut through their debate. Admiral Walker's image appeared before them, projected in the center of the chamber. "Your fleet has failed. Your weapons have failed. Your empire is about to fall. But it doesn't have to end in fire." The Supreme Leader raised a hand, silencing his arguing council. "Speak, human. Name your terms." Across the human fleet, crews watched and waited. Dr. Reed's voice came through Walker's private channel. "The Imperial home star is primed, sir. 5 minutes to point of no return." Walker nodded slightly. "Our terms are simple. Complete independence for all human worlds. Return of all human prisoners. Immediate withdrawal of all Imperial forces from human space. Recognition of Earth as a sovereign power equal to the Empire in all matters." The War Minister laughed bitterly. "Equal? You dare demand equality with the Empire?" "Look around you," Walker replied calmly. "Your mighty fleet burns. Your industrial heart is gone. Your people flee from dying stars. We don't demand equality. We've taken it." In orbit around Earth, the trapped Imperial fleet watched helplessly as their homeworld's star grew more unstable. High Commander Marcus, his ship damaged and his pride broken, sent an urgent message to the Council. "My leaders, they have beaten us. Not through brute force, but through patience and cunning. If we continue this fight, we will lose everything." The Supreme Leader stood, his ancient face showing true emotion for the first time in decades. "How?" he asked Walker. "How did you hide this power from us for so long? You watched our ships. You counted our weapons. You measured our technology, Walker answered. But you never looked deeper. You never asked why we seemed to advance so slowly, why we spent so much time in our asteroid belt, why we seemed to waste resources on mining operations. Your arrogance blinded you. A junior officer rushed into the council chamber, face pale. Supreme Leader, the outer colonies, they're declaring independence. They say if we don't accept the humans' terms, they'll seek protection from Earth. The Empire was unraveling. 15 years of watching humanity struggle had convinced them of their superiority. Now that same humanity held their stars hostage, and their own people were turning against them. 1 minute to point of no return, Dr. Reed reported quietly. The Supreme Leader looked at his council, at the faces of beings who had never known defeat. The choice before us is simple, he said. We can keep our pride and watch our worlds burn, or we can adapt. We can learn. We can change. He turned back to Walker's image. We accept your terms, all of them. Send us the agreement. We will sign it immediately. Walker nodded, and across the galaxy, the dying stars began to stabilize. The dimensional fields trapping the Imperial fleet fell away. Humanity had won not through destruction, but through the threat of it. As the Empire's leaders prepared to sign the peace accord, the Supreme Leader spoke quietly to Walker. You could have killed us all. Why didn't you? Because, Walker replied, we're better than that. We don't want to rule the galaxy. We just want our freedom. Remember that, the next time you think about testing our patience. The Empire had ruled through fear for 10,000 years. Now they learned that some fears were greater than others, and that mercy could be more powerful than destruction. 1 year after the Empire's surrender, Admiral Walker stood at the window of the new human Imperial peace station, watching ships from both civilizations dock peacefully alongside each other. The massive space station, built in neutral space between Earth and Imperial territory, served as a symbol of the new age that had begun. Below him, in the station's great hall, the first trade conference between former enemies was about to begin. Imperial merchants who had once looked down on primitive humans now eagerly sought Earth's technology and goods. Humanity's reputation had changed from backward savages to respected equals in the span of a few short weeks. Dr. Reed joined him at the window, her face reflecting the starlight. The last Starkiller device was deactivated yesterday, she said quietly. Though we kept the plans, just in case. The weight of their actions still hung heavy in her voice. Walker nodded, watching an Imperial cruiser pass by. Its crew had once been their enemies. Now they were trading partners, perhaps someday even friends. Did we do the right thing? He asked, not for the first time. Creating weapons that could kill stars. We did what we had to do, Reed answered. The Empire wouldn't have respected anything less, and in the end, we didn't have to use them all. She paused, looking at a group of human and Imperial children playing together in the station's recreation area. Sometimes the best weapons are the ones you never have to fire. The station's communication system chimed softly. The Supreme Leader's ship was arriving for the anniversary ceremony. In the year since the peace accord, the ancient ruler had surprised everyone by embracing change. The Empire was transforming, slowly but surely, from a conquering force into a cooperative partner in galactic affairs. The ceremony hall filled with representatives from both civilizations. Walker took his place on the stage beside the Supreme Leader, remembering their first meeting a year ago when the peace treaty was signed. The old ruler looked different now, less rigid, more alive. 1 year ago, the Supreme Leader began, his voice carrying across the silent hall. We learned a valuable lesson. For 10,000 years, we thought strength came from conquest, from forcing others to bow before us. We were wrong. He turned to look at Walker. True strength comes from patience, from wisdom, and sometimes from showing mercy when you have the power to destroy. The crowd murmured in agreement. Among them stood Imperial officers who had fought against Earth, now talking peacefully with human commanders. Former enemies had become colleagues, working together to build something new. Walker stepped forward to speak. We developed the power to kill stars because we had to. But we chose not to use that power to its full extent because we wanted something better than victory. We wanted peace. He looked out at the mixed crowd. Today, human colonies are rebuilding. Imperial worlds are flourishing. Trade routes connect our peoples. This is better than any victory through destruction. In the station's research wing, human and imperial scientists worked together, combining their knowledge in ways that benefited both civilizations. The Empire's age-old technology merged with human innovation, creating advances that neither side could have achieved alone. Dr. Reed spent her days there now, teaching imperial scientists about human ingenuity while learning from their millennia of experience. The Star Killer Project, once a weapon of last resort, had led to breakthroughs in stellar engineering that promised to extend the life of aging stars. As the ceremony ended, Walker walked through the station's corridors, seeing the results of their hard choice everywhere. Human children learned imperial languages, while young imperial nobles studied Earth's history. Merchants from both civilizations haggled good-naturedly over prices. Ships from dozens of worlds came and went freely through the station's docks. It was worth it, Reed said, joining him again. Everything we did, everything we risked. Look at what we've built instead of what we could have destroyed. Walker watched as another ship docked, this one from a newly independent world that had once been an imperial colony. The galaxy was changing, growing into something new. Humanity had earned its place among the stars not just through power, but through the wisdom to know when not to use that power. The sun rising over Earth shone on a new age, one where humanity stood tall among the stars, proud not of the worlds they could burn, but of the peace they had built from the ashes of war.